Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bleav in Bengal podcast. Yours truly, Solomon Wilcots. The Cincinnati Bengals finally get their first home win of the season. Of course, they had lost the first four games at Paycor Stadium, but they get the win over the Las Vegas Raiders. Cincinnati Bengals come away a winner, 41-24. And, of course, Joe Burrow does it again, 5 touchdown passes, and what was a spectacular performance on offense. But first, let me tell you about Bet Online. It is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. Of course, you get all the earliest odds on in-game live betting with all of the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. And of course, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, NHL, and even entertainment. Head to Bet Online today to get in and on all the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. I got to tell you, Cincinnati Bengals now sit here just one game below 500. And we did that by thoroughly taking apart the Las Vegas Raiders. By the time that game was over, the Raiders ended up firing 3 of their offensive coaches. They should have fired the defensive coaches because Joe Burrow in this offense was unstoppable. They began the game by scoring on their first 5 drives. They racked up 31 straight points in this game, including their first drive of the game. Joe Burrow was phenomenal. And how about Mike Gesicki? 100 yards receiving in this game, 2 touchdowns for him. We saw Andre Yoshivas once again add to his touchdown total. Everybody got in on the action. Can't say enough about what we got from the second-year running back in Chase Brown. Over 100 yards rushing, particularly in light of the fact that his running back mate of Zach Moss is now going to be out for some time with the neck injury. You should know that the Cincinnati Bengals, just before the trade deadline, they traded for Chicago Bears running back Khalil Herbert. This guy has some juice. He's got some quickness. He's got speed. He can catch the ball coming out of the backfield. He's going to remind you a lot of Chase Brown. A little bit bigger, but just as quick and shifty in the open space. We're going to tell you a little bit more about him coming up later. We're going to be joined by a good friend, Jason La Canfora of the Washington Post, as the Cincinnati Bengals get ready for their Thursday night tilt against the Baltimore Ravens. Welcome, everyone, to the Bleav in Bengal podcast. Yours truly, Solomon Wilcots. And right now we're joined by a very good friend, a reporter who covers the NFL for the Washington Post and Odyssey insider, Jason La Canfora, one of the best in the business. Jason, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing the same. Getting geared up for another rivalry game Thursday night. Let's go.
Ever since Lamar Jackson came into the National Football League, and of course, all of us here in Cincinnati, we got to watch him at the University of Louisville. We're big fans of his, and we've always said that he's must-see TV. And now you put him and Joe Burrow on the field at the same time. This is fireworks. I don't know that the people of Amazon could have got themselves a better game. Tell me right now, why should, and I really believe this, Lamar Jackson is trending towards a second straight MVP award. Why is that, Jason?
Well, I think he now he processes the game. He thinks the game. Mm-hmm. He dissects other defenses to a degree that he hadn't before. Like you'd say 2 MVPs by age 27. What could you do better? Well, you could diagnose the blitz a little bit better, right? Mm-hmm. You could read things and that second and third read, and you could hit that guy in stride. The decision making could have improved, and I don't know if it can improve off of where it is now, but it could have improved to get to this point. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what happens when you send 6 or more, right? You study him and you say the big blitz gives him trouble. Well, I mean, Solly right now, he's top 5 in EPA when they blitz 5. He's top 5 in EPA per drop back when they blitz 6 or more. He's top 5 in the NFL in passer rating against the blitz. He's top 1 in the NFL when you sit back and play zone. He's just like a 128 passer rating in zone. Mm-hmm. So you can't sit back. He'll diagnose you that way. 20 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's a top 5 quarterback on third down. He's a top 5 quarterback in the red zone. And then you add the legs in and what Derrick Henry has given them to sell play action under center and Lamar's footwork and what he's done improving as an under center passer. And you saw it last week excuse me, against Denver. Excuse me, he didn't practice all week. He wasn't going to activate his legs. Sean Payton and Vance Joseph knew he's not going to activate his legs. He threw the ball and operated under center at an elite level. And then when he did dance out of the pocket, it's like he has this preternatural ability now, Solly, to know where the sticks are, to know where the line of scrimmage is, and he dances up to it. And even when you know he's not taking off and running, he draws you to him, and he delivers the ball, and he delivers it on a strike, and he delivers it 20 yards downfield, and he gets rid of it quickly enough that you don't even hit him after he gets rid of it. Like, it's like he's playing the game at a different speed than everybody else. Like, he averaged 17.5 yards per completion on Sunday when he didn't have his legs against the number one defense in the NFL.
Wow.
And he didn't throw to the tight ends at all because Denver took that away.
That's
so
right.
I'll do a little bit to Zay. Hey, Justice Hill, watch him on a wheel route. Like, every week, somebody else is the star. Like, this week, it might be Charlie Kohler. Like, Isaiah Likely's beat up. Mm-hmm. If you told me, hey, Charlie Kohler's going to catch 7 balls for 80 yards and a touchdown, I'd say, sure.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player.
Like Lamar will just get it to wherever the best matchup is. Remember, Solly, it used to be you take away Hollywood, you take away Mark Andrews, and they're done. He's going to force it to one of those two guys, especially in the red zone. That's over. Like, you don't know. It might be Deontay Johnson Thursday. Like, it might be Aguilar.
Yeah.
He don't care. It doesn't matter. He'll make anybody the star.
He's a lot of fun to watch. He's currently leading the league with 9.3 yards per pass attempt, 20 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Joe Burrow, on the other hand, 20 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. These two are so closely related. You know, I've always said that, look, people were critiquing Lamar wrongly. They wanted him to, he's got to be this, he's got to be that. They wanted him to be like Brady. They wanted him to be like Peyton Manning. Well, you're not going to be like those guys. But guess what? Those guys aren't like him either, right? And it's okay. You can be great in your own way and still deliver a championship product. And Lamar has done that. Tell me about the excitement on Thursday night in Baltimore to see, once again, Joe Burrow and Lamar on the same field. The last time they played, nearly 1,000 yards total offense. They combined for 9 touchdown passes, right?
I can't even fit them all on the screen.
9. It was a shootout of epic proportion. Can we get that kind of game again, Jason?
I hope so, Solly, because I'm on the over.
That's right.
You know, the look ahead was at 51. I had to jump. It's around 52.5 now.
Yeah.
I don't really buy either defense, especially not the way these offenses are built.
That's right.
Like we talked, the Bengals can't defend tight ends, right? Like they just can't. And this is a 3 tight end attack. Yep. And they throw to tight ends at a heavy stuff. And they also have Zay Flowers on the field at the same time. And boy, they hemorrhage you in a lot of ways. I don't know what the right personnel fit is to stop that. And then we know Joe Burrow's success over the years against this defense. And Mike McDonald had the magic sauce, but Zach Orr don't have it. Zach Orr don't have the magic sauce right now against Gardner Minshew. Like he really didn't have it against Bo Nix.
That's right.
The first half, Bo Nix carved them up. Now, Baltimore held the ball for 12 minutes in the third quarter, scored 3 times. Game was over. But the first half, there's a lot of things on film that Bo Nix hit and that Bo Nix missed that Joe Burrow is going to say,
Yeah.
So, I think these two teams are made to score points on each other. It's obviously kind of a last stand game for the Bengals. Like they're going to be a factor in the division. I have a hard time seeing them getting swept by the Ravens and being able to compete for the division with them in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So they're going to get the best of what they have. And I mean, I don't see a pass rush from Baltimore at all. Maybe they'll rectify that, at the trade deadline. Maybe they won't. But even if they do it, it's not going to be a whole lot of time to play Thursday night, brother.
That's exactly right. Tick.
Nah, so I just think Joe Burrow will have time to operate. I think he'll be able to have success going empty against these guys. And outside of Marlon Humphrey, nobody's making plays on the ball for the Ravens. Like, the Ravens don't have a free safety right now. Like, when they played you guys last time, it was Marcus Williams, who did nothing in that game, and he's done nothing all year. They benched Marcus Williams against the Browns.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston looked like Joe Montana against them with Eddie Jackson at free safety.
And it didn't look any better.
No. So last week they bench Eddie Jackson. They bring Marcus back.
That's right.
Bo Nix throws it 40 times, and Marcus never is within a country mile of a football in the air.
Wow.
So, Roquan Smith's getting exposed in coverage this year without Patrick Queen next to him. You can throw the ball in the middle of the field on them all day long. And frankly, as much as the Ravens run the ball, and they do it great, they struggle to run the ball against the Bengals. And teams are making it more difficult for them. They're getting that 1 or 2 big runs from Derrick Henry, but it's not the consistent 12, 11, 10 that we saw against some teams. And in the division, that's going to be tough. I think the Ravens come out throwing, and they say, Joe Burrow, can you keep up with us on the road? Because we're coming out where we left off with Justice Hill in a 2-minute offense, even if it's not a 2-minute situation, throwing to our tight ends with 2 little guys on the field. And let's see how you match up. We don't think you can stop it.
See, I think
that's the game. I think that's the game.
That's what I was going to ask, because the last time they played week 5, neither team was able to stop the other. No. They might only stop themselves, to be honest with you, when Lamar in overtime didn't see the snap and dropped it. Other than that, they're scoring on every drive. Joe Burrow was red hot, nearly scoring on every drive. I wanted to ask you in what way, because to me, they went and made a trade for Deontay Johnson for a reason. Rashad Bateman is having one of his best seasons.
Yeah.
As long as the sun's not in his eyes, right? And
dropped another one last week, though. The drops are back now, so I don't know.
And Zay Flowers is good as anything. But with the 3 receivers, that could open up the offense maybe a little bit more. So I want to ask, how is all of that coming together right now for the Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird week because they trade for Deontay Johnson, and then Lamar doesn't practice all week with the back and the knee. So those two, but, so that might take a little bit. And then this week, there is no practice time because you're playing on a Thursday.
That's right.
So that might take a little time. I mean, it's a nice depth move. There was a period of time where they were far and away using more 12 personnel than anybody, and teams adjusted, and now there's a recalibration, and I think you're going to see them lean into 11 a little bit more.
Exactly.
Would you rather have Deontay Johnson or Nelson Aguilar? You know what I mean? Like, as the secondary deep threat. And let's face it, Zay gets a lot of yak, and Zay does a lot of things in the middle of the field, but Zay's not catching the ball 40, 50 yards downfield. And now Bateman, you never know what you're going to get from week to week with him, and he and Lamar have not been a great connection for the most part over 4 years now. So I get it, like Deontay Johnson's playing for his career. He's desperate. When they lean into 11 in some of these matchups, it's probably a preferable option. He can win downfield in a way that some of these receivers can't. But if that's all they do, then they're in trouble. And when it comes to January, because this defense needs help. It needs help.
What's the prevailing thought for most people in Baltimore when you see Joe Burrow coming, when you see Jamar Chase and a healthy T. Higgins, those 3 guys getting off the bus very healthy? I got to believe that maybe they don't say it loudly in Baltimore, but I'm sure they're thinking it collectively like this could be trouble.
Oh, there's a healthy respect. Absolutely. Yeah. No, the discerning football fan, there's some people who just have the pom-poms out all the time, but people who pay even a little bit of attention to this know that this is going to be a tough ask for Zach Orr. And really, like, they brought Dean Pease in, and that was kind of like after that Bengals game, it's like we got to get somebody else in this mix. They should have done it in the offseason. Mike McDonald leaves, goes to Seattle, takes Leslie Frazier with him. These guys promote Zach Orr. They should have promoted Denard Wilson. And they give him a young staff. With nobody who's ever called plays before. Excuse me, with nobody who sat in the big chair on a Sunday before and had 22 guys on defense looking at him for the play. I think they set him up to fail a little bit, and he's had a learning curve. And Mike McDonald had a learning curve until they got Roquan Smith.
Yes, they did.
So, and they're not adding that. They're not adding a $20 million linebacker. Yes, there's a healthy respect. There is, I think, in the fan base, a fear that, like, this guy might throw for 5 on us again, and we might need 38 at home to win this game.
Joe Burrow's been known to get coaches fired. You remember Wink Martindale?
Absolutely.
And you saw what just happened with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes.
They were here. I don't think they let coaches back on the plane after the game. And look, you know this league wide. This might be one of the epic battles, other than say a Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, or Burrow and Mahomes. This is really one of the great quarterback matchups. We get to see it twice a year in the AFC North. I just think this is a heck of a game. And of course, the Ravens always been known for defense, but their pass defense has been so inept and so out of character for the Baltimore Ravens. This has got to be hard for the Ravens organization in some ways, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, Solly, I'm old enough to remember last season when they were the first defense in NFL history to lead the league in points allowed,
way
takeaways,
back
and
then.
sacks. That's like 6 whole months ago. Like,
way back then, right?
Like Patrick Mahomes came in here, he scored on the first drive, and then I think the Chiefs averaged 3.8 yards per play the rest of the game.
That's right.
Now, the Ravens still lost because the offense didn't show up and they didn't run the ball. So now you go get Derrick Henry. You've got as multifaceted of his offense as you can find in the league, and 33 points at home is not enough. Gardner Minshew comes in and beats you coming from behind in your place in the second half. So, yeah, it is. It's got to be embarrassing, and it's mostly the same players. And I do think a lot of it is but also, like, at some point, the players got to figure it out amongst themselves as well and nip some of this in the bud. But we're going in the middle of November. Like, they're not flicking a switch and changing it. Like, there's free runners everywhere. There were just free runners all over the place on Sunday. Like, Javonte Williams should not be catching balls 30 yards downfield. Like, it wasn't the third down back. It was the 2 yards in a cloud of dust.
Yes,
and he caught it, and there was nobody in a country mile, like in the middle of the field. You can throw between the numbers on them, short, intermediate, deep, all day long. All day long. It's been all season long. Yeah. So I don't know that they shore that up on a short week against Joe Burrow. I don't think they do.
No, I think it's going to be fireworks at M&T Bank Stadium. There's no doubt about it. May the best team win. It's certainly a game that the Bengals need so much more than the Baltimore Ravens. But where the Pittsburgh Steelers are right now, sitting there with 6 wins, only 2 losses, and they're going to be waiting to see what happens in this Thursday night game. So they're sitting in the catbird seat. So, hey, look, I just hope it's going to be a really good game. And look, you continue the great work that you're doing, Jason. You're the best, and appreciate you joining us right here on the Bleav in Bengals podcast.
I listen to you driving my kids to school every morning. Don't tell anybody at my radio station.
Thanks for not turning me off. I appreciate it.
I'm listening to you on Sirius, brother. So
you're the best, my friend. All the best. Guess what? It's time to talk about the performer of the week. I wonder who that would be. I wonder if it's Joe Burrow. But first, let me tell you about French Creek Roofing, Greater Cincinnati's choice of roofing, windows, and siding. If you want to get a new roof, or if you want to get an inspection, you want to call the great people at French Creek Roofing. Boy, do they do a good job. Almost as good a job as what Joe Burrow is doing at the quarterback position right now. For the second time this season, he's thrown for 5 touchdown passes in 1 game. He continues to play at an MVP level. And right now, Joe Burrow has 20 touchdown passes, second most in the National Football League. In fact, he's tied for second with Lamar Jackson. 20 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. He's completing 70% of his passes right now. He carved up the our Las Vegas Raiders. He completed 69% of his passes, 251 yards, 5 touchdowns. And Joe was kind of hot in this game, too. There was a moment when things weren't going as smoothly after he had already thrown for 5 touchdown passes. Looked like things were kind of unraveling, and he started to give his teammates that stare that only Joe Burrow can get. And everyone kind of got it back going. And that's next thing you know, he's connecting with Mike Gesicki on a 47-yard touchdown pass. It showed you his leadership, and it showed you what kind of player and what kind of young man he is. This is a guy that is borderline perfectionist. It's going to be done, and it's going to be done the right way every single time. And if things start to get a little bit sloppy, he's going to let you know he's not happy. I like that kind of quarterback. It's the kind of quarterback the Cincinnati Bengals need in order for this team to turn this season around and get going in the right direction. If they're going to turn it around, we're running out of chances to do that. So if we're going to turn it around, you know where it's got to happen? It's got to happen at M&T Bank Stadium on Thursday night against the Baltimore Ravens. The Cincinnati Bengals can win a game on Thursday night. They'll get back to 500. They'll be at 5-5 after 10 games, and we would absolutely love that. But we're going to have to stop Lamar Jackson. We're going to have to stop Derrick Henry. They've got the worst pass defense in the National Football League. Remember the last time Joe Burrow faced this defense? He lit them up, carved them up for what? 5 touchdown passes when they played in that week 5 game that we really should have won. We lost that game in overtime, 41-38. All we got to do is hold the kick. Can we get someone to hold the kick so that we can come out of there with a win? Because if we could do that, the Cincinnati Bengals can get back to 500 and be in really good shape to make a run for the playoffs. It's time now to look ahead to the Bengals' next game coming up Thursday night. That's right, Week 10 around the National Football League starts with the Thursday night game when the Cincinnati Bengals will head to Baltimore to take on the Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium. But first, this segment is brought to you by Midwest Hospice. If you're dealing with the final days of a loved one, we know it can be difficult and overwhelming. Just allow the trusted caregivers at Midwest Hospice to help you out. They've been serving Greater Cincinnati for over the last 10 years. Cincinnati Bengals getting ready to take on the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday night. Remember when these two teams last met? That was week 5. That was a game we should have won at Paycor Stadium. But we allowed them to get out of there with a win. They ended up winning at 41-38. We did a great job of stopping Derrick Henry. Did a great job of really just trying to contain that offense that could be very explosive. But we couldn't hold the kick. That would have gave us the win in that game. It was tied 38-38 in overtime, and we were not able to execute a clean snap and hold for our kicker, Evan McPherson, who would have no doubt knocked it through. We're going to have a chance to get a win in Baltimore on Thursday night. And the reason why I know this, look at the numbers that Joe Burrow are putting up. I mean, he's playing lights out. The guy has 20 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions on the season, completing 70% of his passes, and throwing for 7.4 yards per pass attempt and a passer rating well over 100. But Lamar Jackson's playing equally as well. Do you know both guys are playing like they're going to be the next MVP? In fact, this Thursday night game could be an audition for either Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson to emerge as the front runner for the league's MVP award in 2024. Joe Burrow is right there, but so is Lamar Jackson, whose passer rating is better at 120%. His completion percentage is not as good as Joe Burrow, 68% as opposed to 70 for Joe Burrow. But his yards per pass attempt at 9.3 leads the National Football League. And he, like Joe Burrow, has 20 touchdowns, but only 2 interceptions. So this game is going to, I think, be a line of demarcation for who will continue to be a strong candidate for the MVP award. I think it's going to be Joe Burrow. I think it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals because the Baltimore Ravens have the worst pass defense known to mankind. With Thanksgiving Day coming up, this is the group that you want to play against because they are very generous. They give up touchdown passes. They give up the most explosive pass plays, and they don't do a good job of getting a pass rush. Remember the last time we played this team, our offensive line dominated against this defense. They don't do a good job of pressuring the opposing quarterback at all. So something tells me Joe Burrow is going to have a lot of time to throw the football. He's going to have wide receivers open. We got to get T. Higgins back. We got to get Jermaine Burton back. Come on, Jermaine. We need you, bruh. We had you in the game plan last week, and you couldn't even make it to the ballpark. All right, Cincinnati Bengals fans, supporting these Bengals. We're getting ready to go to Baltimore. We got to come back with a win. Don't forget to join me next time. Once the Bengals are now 5-5 when this Thursday night game is over, you can join me right here on the Bleav in Bengal podcast. Thank you, everyone.